You're listening to Mentoring Developers. So, one of the challenges that you will always have, and we suffer from it, we have to deal with it as senior developers or mentors, but also new developers, and I suspect that's a little bit harder for you guys. How do you keep your skills up to date? Do you even care about that? Is that because there could be a thing, there could be this approach that let's do what we're asked to do and leave it at that, and then if we're asked to learn something, we'll learn it. If otherwise, if a new version of Rails comes out, it's not your concern.
I try and stay up to date, like via blogs, and I'm really, really bad about podcasts and paying attention to them. But for me, the best way is just to use my skills. I mean, to go out and do stuff, and then to maybe research a better way to do it, or Google's it's about my best friend. So that's my go-to resource if I have any kind of question or need to learn something new.
I find personal projects to be really helpful in learning things that I might not be necessarily doing at work. And as most personal projects go, it ends up in a graveyard or a pile of unfinished projects or things that kind of sort of work, but you don't really want other people to see. And I actually have a Bitbucket. It's like, because I like Bitbucket because it's a private repo, so I can commit code that I don't want people to see on there. And it's great because I can think of something that I want to work on. Like this past week, Singapore, which is where I'm from, was doing elections. And so something that I wanted to work on, or I wanted to kind of get more well-versed was understanding how mapping works and visualization works. And so that got me into working with like CartoDB and Mapbox. And that's like completely out of the scope of something I would normally do. But it was a fun project to kind of work on and see how to structure my JSON and how to use the Mapbox API to do exactly what I wanted. It didn't end up as perfect as I wanted it to be, but it was a great exploration into a technology that I would otherwise not use.
Yeah, so you have something that you want to solve, and software gives you the tools, the skills, really the superpower to do the thing that you're really interested in doing. And in doing that, you find out what you need and what they call just-in-time learning. And
yes, exactly.
So, do you find blogs to be helpful? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you watch screencasts? What do you guys do?
Yeah, I think like what Kasey was talking about earlier in terms of keeping up to date, blog posts and podcasts are great. Like I listen to the JavaScript Jabbers and Ruby Rogues and like a few other podcasts, just to like figure out what people in the industry are talking about, and Hacker News as well, which is like what are the hip tech people talking about? That's like kind of a way for me to see what the buzz is about and what people are learning and what people are doing. And then maybe exploring that from that kind of learning about like, oh, someone's talking about functional reactive programming. Let me go look at Bacon.js and like go read the documentation and see if I want to dig into that further. So it's a great way for an exploration into various technologies. Yeah.
Is that a dedicated time that you set aside 2 hours, let's say on a Saturday morning, to do this? Or is it just, as it shows up on your inbox?
I've been taking a very ad hoc approach to it. And like I subscribe to a few newsletters that come in my mailbox once a week or once a month, and I read that, and then like the podcast will come into my podcast manager, and I'll listen to them like while I'm on a run or when I'm walking somewhere to the grocery store or something. And so it's kind of like when I have pockets of time that I would be doing like laundry or something mundane, that I would kind of like listen in and do that. So in some sense, it's kind of, and then in other times it's like, oh, I have an hour before I have to do something else, and then let me go read this blog post or whatever. So I don't think it's like dedicated time. It tends to be very randomized.
Thank you so much for listening.
For show notes and transcripts, visit us at mentoringdevelopers.com.